Hello, Fearless Gamers, and welcome to another podcast here on Fearless Games. I'm Matt the Vet, and today I'm joined by...
Dark Lord.
Okay, it's just us two tonight, and welcome on the show.
Yep, how's it going, everyone? You got the best part of the show right here.
Yep, the two who got the most votes when we asked everyone who's their favorite Fearless.
Yeah, clearly, we're awesome.
Clearly, we're the ones you come to listen to.
I'm really surprised by that. Anyway.
I'm not.
Yeah. Well, I don't know why people like me. I got like a vote. I think it was the mask. It's all my personalities right there in that piece of latex.
Yes, or plaster, depending.
Oh, right. Well, no, actually, the original mask is paper mache.
Ah,
yeah,
that's right.
I have a paper mache black mask, and the bronze or brass and the gray one are both latex. From Extreme Designs, if anyone was wondering, they make cool stuff.
I don't get why. I'd be honest, I was a little shocked that I got a lot of votes. I think I'm personally annoying.
I find you annoying too. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, I know. Everyone knows me. I'm like, wow, I'm not annoying on the internet? I'm impressed.
You frankly are the most active member of our group on the internet, and you usually have some good insights, so it makes sense.
Hopefully, that will continue.
I've been the least active. I'm only showing up for these right now because I don't have enough free time to do anything else. So.
Excuses. I've seen what you do in your free time. You have tons of it.
I know. Yeah, you saw all my fidget.
And you know what you should be doing in that free time?
Painting?
Watching Gao Gaigar Season 2.
Oh, yes. I should be watching. I'm never going to finish that show.
You will.
All those listeners listening, the vet and I traded TV shows with each other that we said the other one had to watch. I gave him Avatar The Last Airbender, and he gave me Gao Gaigar. And I think I got the short end of the stick. No, I'm just kidding. It's a good show, but I just can't get through season 2. I just can't get around to watching it.
It is so epic. It's one of the few shows where I can sit and enjoy the theme song every time I watch it.
The song is killer. If you guys look it up, it's great. My big issue right now is season 2 is purely in Japanese, so I need to sit and actually stare at the screen to watch it. I can't paint and half watch it because I need to actually pay attention because I can't speak that language that well.
Sadly, the story with that is Media Blasters, because I actually talked to Mike Sinterklaas, the guy who played Guy Shishiro, who is also Dean Venture in the Venture Brothers. Mm-hmm. And he's done a couple of other works. He worked on Berserk, Oh My Goddess, and a couple of other things that I can't remember right now. He was Leonardo in TMNT.
All things I don't care about.
How dare you not care about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
I care about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. TMNT is a different story.
That is true.
Actually, he's decent.
No. I've only seen the movie and one or two of the episodes, so I can't condemn it. But I did like Turtles Forever. But I was ashamed they couldn't get Uncle Phil to play Shredder in that.
Yeah, it happens.
Also, I didn't know Yakko was the original Raphael.
Really? That guy? That guy's awesome.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name, but it makes sense.
Yep. And the guy who did him in Turtles Are Forever, it was Sean Sassamel or something like that. If my girlfriend was here, she'd correct me. But he is Funimation's Goku.
Yeah, she would know that. She knows everything about DBZ. It's a little scary sometimes.
But I can get into that more. But back onto track.
Yep.
He said they did not like the profits that Season 1 made, so they said, let's not bother dubbing Season 2.
Yeah.
And he was pissed about that. I went up to him and I was like, I know it's a real shame, I really liked the dubbing in Season 1, and I didn't get that in Season 2, and now I'm definitely not going to get Gao Gaigar Final. And he goes, well, you go up to the Media Busters booth down in the dealer's room and tell those cheap SOBs you want more Gao Gaigar.
For anyone who hasn't watched Gao Gaigar, I'm going to put this very simply. It is like watching the anime version of your 8-year-old playing with your toys. That's how I felt like it when I was watching, especially Season 1 finale. I'm like, that is totally what I used to do with my toys when I was a kid. I'm like, oh my god, I've seen this before. Which is, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but yeah.
It is. One, the theme song is just epic. I heard my girlfriend play me the theme song once. I didn't know what the show was about or anything, but that theme song got me to go out and spend $60 to get the series.
That's a good theme song.
And what's really cool about the show is it's one of the few where the main character doesn't sit there gawking when the villain gets back up.
Yeah, no, he just beats them down. He's like, nope, none of that.
The best is in the very first episode, you know, this giant robot called the Zonder is running around the city, and Guy Shishiro just turns into fuses with Galleon and then fuses with the Gao machines to make Gao Gaigar for the first time, and he throws his broken Magnum at the villain, and it goes right through his head. And the guy gets back up, and slowly his head starts merging back into its face, and its eyes cling, and next thing you know, he gets sucker punched from off camera before he can even do anything.
Yeah, well, that's how you do things. Anyways,
you don't sit there gawking like.
It's like rule whatever when it comes to zombies, double tap. When it comes to evil giant robots, you kill it, and then you kill it again just to be safe.
And you don't just stand there looking at it getting back up.
Anyways, let's try to bring this back into wargaming. I actually have a good segue really quick. Brings anime into this, kind of, not really. But, so,
you're going.
Really quick, Tower coming out. I'm excited. James and I both got the limited edition book. Mine I got the confirmation email of it being shipped today.
You might actually get yours on time.
Yeah, I know, I'm excited.
That's scary.
But
the Dragon 22, you should be excited for that as well, because it's coming out, and from what we've seen in pictures,
it's beautiful.
There's actually a whole section on the Tau language and how they would talk.
Yeah, I mean, the old codex...
And there's the alphabet, too.
The alphabet was in the last codex, too. It looks like they expanded it more and gave us more info, which is nice.
Yep, it looks like they gave you the whole alphabet.
Yeah, excuse me.
This time around.
But
talk a little bit about the language, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
which I think they do that more with the other Xenos races.
They talked about it a little bit in the last book, but it's really limited, so I hope they expand on that. Because I like more naming stuff than just what the people at Advanced Tau Tactitia have come up with, which is amazing, but it's still limited. But what James and I decided, we're hoping that you can make a full Crisis Suit army. If you can, he's going to make one. I'm not, because I like Fire Warriors. But
I will make one just so I can have that Riptide.
But we've had a discussion, and we've made a bit of a painting pact, if you will. First off, if you know from our Legends of War, my paint scheme's a little lame. I'm not really liking it. I could make it better. But we decided, we were talking about different paint schemes to do, and we came to the conclusion someone has to do the Noisy Boy army.
The Noisy Boy army?
Yeah, and Noisy Boy as in from Real Steel, the manga mangler.
Oh, yeah. The first robot, okay.
The awesomest paint scheme ever. So if there's a full Crisis Suit thing going on, like you can make a full Crisis Suit only army, James might be doing that. If they're not, I'm probably going to turn my whole army into that. So purple with black and gold and yellow highlights. Which
is like something sort of like what we have right now with our Dark Angels. He's doing Deathwing and I'm doing Ravenwing. So together we have the first and the second company.
Yeah. But it's just, that would be a really striking scheme on Tau. Because, my gray thing just isn't working. But purple with, the yellow would look really nice. Especially with, just Tau writing instead of Japanese all over the units would be pretty cool.
And speaking of Legends of War, for anyone who's aware, it has been slightly put on hiatus. Not because of anything general, but just people don't have time. And to counteract these 2 new codexes that come out. My whole army list... kinda, it ended up being lacking points, and I had to fill in, so I had to rearrange the list, and so that's put me behind, because now, these units are useless, I have to paint these units now, so, and stuff like that, but we do have a battle report for Part 2, I think it was, or Part 3.
Part 3.
It's just that I have to sit and try, and because we were idiots when we did that one, and totally have to...
It got so messed up, which was my fault with the camera, and then there was, stupid stuff going on.
It was also, we
messed up the rules a lot, too.
Trying a new way of doing battle reports, and we messed up completely.
Yeah.
And it was a learning experience.
Yeah, we're trying to do good battle reports, and it's not easy to make them interesting and stuff.
I think it's more, we're trying to do more battle reports in a different format than what we're normally usually doing.
What we normally do, a lot of people don't really like. Sorry, we're trying to make it interesting.
So, and But that's coming, that'll eventually come.
Yeah.
It's kind of taking a back burner right now because Rise of the Magi is on the cusp of getting finished.
Yep.
And that's going to take a little bit less time to get done, and I think that's going to look beautiful. Like, unfortunately, you haven't gotten to see the final product of part 1 of the beginning, but it is gold.
Yeah.
And this is the sad thing. It is the opening cinematic is about 7-8 minutes. Okay?
Yeah.
That was 350 gigs of file sizes right there.
That's
how much,
most of my computer's hard drive.
The reason that was one of the reasons it was taking so long. My hard drive that I do all my video editing on was so stuffed I had 5 gigs left.
Wow.
And it was just running off nothing. And it was just, that's from all the green screening and special effects that were put into the thing, which is ironically there's only like one special effect piece in the thing.
Yeah.
But it was mainly all the green screening that was done in it. But yeah, 350 gigs was just for part 1 to do the 7 minutes.
So,
yeah. Also, interesting thing, before we move on to the next wargaming thing here that we should address, Alex Wood has a question for us.
About to bring that one up. I'm looking right at it.
We asked everybody before, what is it you're doing when you're listening to our podcast?
Mm-hmm.
And he told us that he tends to do roaming or mining asteroids in EVE Online. And his question is have we ever given that game a shot? Well, Starklord, have you ever tried EVE Online?
I haven't, but James, when he and I were roommates back in college, was playing EVE Online, so I experienced it vicariously through him. He can talk about it more, because we, as in all 4 of us, have played a lot of MMOs. James tries all the weird ones. But I never played EVE. Have you played EVE?
No. I've heard of EVE. My awareness of EVE came after I kind of got lost interest in the whole MMO thing.
Yeah. You had some tough times finding a game group, if I recall.
Well, first, MMOs tend to be at one point. There's very few MMOs that at least I've played in my experience where you can just be by yourself, because I'm very antisocial with internet peoples. Which
is tough in a multiplayer online system, Biz.
Yes, it is, but there are a couple of games out there that you can do it in.
Mm-hmm.
There was an issue with World of Warcraft once where there was a group of people that I was with, and they were all like level 30, level 40, and I just started out, and they're like, oh, we're going to help you out, we're going to get you started, we're going to get you up to our level, and they gave me a bunch of gold,
mm-hmm.
and they're like, we're going to level you up, and then bam, you'll be with us, and we can do all these raids and cool things together.
Yeah.
Well, at first it was, they usually weren't playing on the same server as me, and when I was like, hey, I'm ready to do some stuff, how about we do some leveling up? He's like, okay, give me 1 minute, just have to finish this quest. 10 minutes later, oh wait, I just need to sell this item before it loses its value. 10 minutes later, okay, I just need to finish this part of this quest because I want to get it done and out of the way. And 3 hours later, I'm still waiting to get help. Well, it then turned into them never showing up on the server, to which I discovered they started all new characters on another server without telling me, and I went, why didn't you not tell me about this? And like, oh, well, we'll start a new character now, we're only level 10, we'll help you. And it's like, no, I'm done, this is the same thing that you did last time, and so I kind of stay away from the MMO experience, unless I know a bunch of people. Like, if you guys, are doing it and I'm, really interested in the game, then, if Dark Millennium was happening, I'd most likely have done that, if it was still happening.
Yeah. Well, let's see. For MMOs, James and I both played Ultima Online. James has been playing for forever, basically, since the game started. He still plays occasionally. He's on the Atlantic Shard. He can tell you his information if you want to know. James, Matt, and I, other Matt, all played not Guild Wars, Warhammer Online together.
I played that for a little bit.
That was a fun game. It petered out. We couldn't all meet up at the same time after a while, and then the game kind of died. But it was fun. And Matt and I both played Guild Wars 2. I haven't played since Hurricane Sandy, because, 13 days without power tends to make you not have time for games. And then I've been so busy since then, I haven't really been playing. I think Matt started to play again recently because he got a new laptop finally, because his old laptop was so bad. I don't know why that thing existed. It could not run a basic MMO, and I'm like, that's not worth having.
The one game I'd say I played the most of was Star Wars Galaxies.
I never got into it. What's really funny...
That was fun.
The worst thing that ever happened, is, James and I, like I said, James and I were roommates. We were talking about MMOs a lot, because we do play a lot of MMOs. It's like, we're one day walking to, 7-Eleven at 3 a.m. in the morning. It's like, it'd be cool if we made, a Star Wars MMO, and we're talking for, 15 minutes, and we're like, oh, wait, there was Star Wars Galaxies. I forgot about that game.
The biggest issue that Star Wars Galaxies had, in my opinion, was two things. One, they tried to make the game fit everybody's needs instead of the fluff that they were trying to set up. They started out really good with a strong canon sense, and then they kind of petered away from that.
Yeah.
And the biggest issue was they made too much of the game player-driven.
I actually really like that. Unfortunately, if there's no players, it kills the game.
Well, no. That's not the problem. Here's the problem. Okay. Basic armor was impossible to get because players were charging ridiculous amount of money for it. So there was no way to get equipment because you couldn't afford the prices people wanted for the stuff. So you were usually running around with tier 1 equipment for half of your game. I went around in, there was I think it was a commando, one of the soldier races, classes, and I got through practically half the tree, and I only had 3 pieces of armor that was one level below me, because it was 200 gold credits, or 2,000 credits for each piece of the armor, and you only made 50 credits a mission.
Yeah.
And that's on top of costs for food, costs for everything else that's required in the game, costs for tickets to travel to other places. It was... Because they made it all player-driven, there was no market to guarantee any type of feasible gear that was usable at your level. That was the problem with the game, because they were basically, in essence, they weren't expecting people to try and become rich kings in the game. They were like, oh, it's just for class experience points. They'll sell it for cheap, and then people will get the armor that they need. And that's where I think they kind of refitted the game a bit. But that was the big problem, is most of your basic gear was just too expensive to buy because people wanted ridiculous amount of money for it.
I remember the other issue, and again, this is a James thing, because James played a lot of MMOs, and we always compared notes, and I couldn't afford Star Wars Galaxies when it came out. Also, when it came out, I was still working on a 56K modem, so I did not play MMOs in that time period.
Yeah. Yep.
But
I remember that's what I was playing it on for most of the time.
Yeah, not worth it. But his problem was he couldn't... You also, for the higher level skills for your classes, you had to have someone train you, and it had to be another player, and he couldn't find another player that had the skills he needed to learn. So... Or
someone who was willing to train you for free.
Yeah, that was the main issue.
And another problem is halfway through the master class of your tier, you had to sit there and train other people. So you had to pray that you went in on a time when other people just started new classes and were looking for trainers.
Yeah.
So it took me, I think, almost 3 months to get the skills required to level up one skill because of how many people it required to train to do that.
They're all really great role-playing concepts and mechanical concepts, but they didn't work with the player base. But going back, since we're just now griping about MMOs, Eve is a cool game. I did enjoy watching James play it, but at the same time...
Is that a free-to-play one?
I don't think it is. Not sure.
That's another issue. I'm not a big fan of paying because
you don't want to get invested.
It's not just even that. It's I'll pay, and then 2 days later, I won't be playing anymore, and then the rest of the month will go by, and my subscription will be up. So I feel like I wasted the money.
Yeah, but I don't play EVE because, looking at it, I know that if I got into it, I'd be so into it I would never leave my home. But good for you, Alex. Thanks for listening to us, and keep up the mining. Watch out for pirates.
And keep up the questions. I love it when you guys give us questions.
Yeah, definitely.
Even just
last time.
Even just silly stuff. What?
Nothing. I said more than last time. I also appreciated Dragon's comment on our last video, our last podcast. It made me laugh, personally. You are always the first one to comment, so yeah, go ahead and do it anyways.
One thing, there is which I would like to believe is a April Fool's joke that everybody is hoping against hope because they always wanted to see one, is actually a preview of what things are to come, and that is this whole Plastic Thunderhawk thing.
Yeah, I'm tired of hearing about it already.
Okay, for those who haven't gotten the latest White Dwarf, at the very back of the latest White Dwarf, they have this thing that they sometimes do in the new magazine called Parting Shot, where they take a picture of something and throw a little text caption, like a little flavor text piece. Well, this one came with a Thunderhawk with a Storm Talon? What's the little baby helicopter thing called?
Let me check. Let me open up the magazine on my iPad.
I'm pretty sure it's a Storm Talon. I could be wrong because I don't play regular Space Marines and I don't get this flyer. Well, at least I don't think I get this one. I could be, but I was under the impression I don't have it, so I never bothered looking into it. But it's that chasing 2 orc fighters.
Let's see, Parting Shot. Yeah, it's a Storm Talon, Thunderhawk, and 2 orc fighter bombers.
Yep, and it says, the roar of engines, the recoil of cannons, that is where the true joy of battle lies. Now everyone's going, OMG, this is a Plastic Thunderhawk. Look, it's different, it looks different, it must be a Plastic Thunderhawk. Well, to be fair to everyone who is looking at this, yes, there is 3 differences on this Thunderhawk than there have been on the Forge World pictures that you see constantly on the Forge World website. The first and foremost is the cockpit. The cockpit that's featured in the Forge World website has a picture of this little skull thing on the front. Problem with that is I believe Forge World provides you with 2 canopies, one with and one without the skull on the front of it. The other is the cannon piece. Some people are going, oh, the cannon piece is different. Well, what it is they gave the Forge World does give you the pieces to make the 2 different cannons that the Thunderhawk can have, and they just took the variant cannon as well. The only other really big change here is there's plastic lenses inside this Thunderhawk, and if you look on the pictures on the Forge World site, those plastic lenses are not there. But Games Workshop is, customization comes into play. Someone could have clearly put the piece of plastic over it, or they may even put that plastic piece in the Forge World kit and they just didn't use it in their photos. And also another thing to note, as some people have brought up, unfortunately we have no way of confirming this because the Star Lord here didn't want to get the reloaded copy. But
you didn't either.
Well, I didn't have anything super heavy at the time, so I had no reason. And now with Apocalypse 2.0 coming out, I can just wait for that one.
Yeah, but neither of us has Apocalypse Reloaded, which apparently this picture is from.
Yeah, apparently page 83, you see this picture of this Thunderhawk, and I think and I believe the fighters are not in the picture, they're superimposed in over it, because these 3 models were not out at the time of Reloaded's appearance.
Yeah. The one person that could confirm that for us is James, and unfortunately James is not here, and does not have the Apocalypse Reloaded with him where he is.
Yep. But, sadly, I'm sorry, like I said, the picture does look familiar if you remove the fighter bombers and everything. I'm I'm highly doubting that this is a Plastic Thunderhawk, and I'm surprised no one has took note of the fact it doesn't have a flight stand underneath it.
Yeah, so it's Photoshop.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm surprised no one said, oh, look, you can't see the flight stand. GW doesn't want us to see that it's on a special flight stand. That means it's made of plastic.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to point out 2 things. First, if you look at the picture, right side by the fuselage, there is a gun placement that is bent in the way that resin bends, not the way plastic bends. I don't know why no one's pointed that out yet. Just to shoot everyone down. You can see that it has a warping to it. But second, there's actually some stuff from the rumor mill. Of course, on Fate 212, which is the best rumor mill site for 40k. They actually had some put up today, and apparently from an inside source, there says there is no Plastic Thunderhawk, as the margins aren't sufficient at this point in time to make it worthwhile.
Yes.
Like, I also just think Plastic Thunderhawk is dumb. There's no reason to make one, personally, in my opinion.
Surprisingly, like, yes, a Thunderhawk is probably... Usually, when you think Forge World, you think Thunderhawk. You think Reaver Titan. But surprisingly enough, from what I've been hearing, they don't sell a lot of these.
They don't.
At any given time.
They're really expensive and prohibitive. You know, prohibitively expensive.
For those in the U.S., if you want a Thunderhawk gunship, it's going to cost you $607 before tax. Which, thankfully, though, with Forge World is only 15% of your total order, but still, $600 for this model.
Free shipping.
Yes, free shipping. So, to make it, let's just say, here. Let's just do a quick, like, numbers game. Let me grab a tank that we have purchased before. Imperial Guard. Let's go with the Shadow Sword, because that's the closest thing on here to a kit. Now, a Shadow Sword is 105 British pounds. So, go into my handy-dandy currency converter, which is XE currency converter. I use this every time I buy stuff from Forge World.
I do too, I use the same one. It's the first thing that pops up on Google.
Yep, and it's surprisingly always accurate. I've yet to have it miscalculate for me.
Yeah.
So, the Shadow Sword is $159.99 off of Forge World's website. Okay? So, the Games Workshop Hexblade kit, if we go to that, it would be under Imperial Guard, Super Heavies. Oh no, it's not there. It's in the Apocalypse section.
Of course it is. Because they don't want to use sections.
There
40k...
There is no Apocalypse section.
Oh.
Let's
go to 40k expansions. We're going to navigate this site together.
Baneblade, okay. The Baneblade itself, which is the one thing I could find here, is $115.50. Roughly, usually get it for about $115. So there is roughly a $50 difference between the two.
Yeah, the Shadow Sword Stormlord, which is what you normally call the Hexblade, is also $115.50.
Yes. So, I call it the Hexblade because you know why.
Yeah, you can make 6 different tank variants if you do it right.
If anyone ever wants to see my Hexblade, let me know. I'll put a video up later.
It's pretty impressive. You should just do a video anyways.
So, $50 difference, roughly. So, a Thunderhawk gunship is $607, so that means a plastic variant, following the rule of thumb, just going off of this quick, guesstimation, would roughly mean that the kit would probably be about $550, roughly, for a plastic Thunderhawk.
Golly gee.
Whew! I'm sorry, I understand that a lot of people would say, a lot of people are saying, oh, if they made it plastic, I would totally buy it.
They would totally buy it if it came out to be $100, but it won't.
Yes, but so...
Not for the quality they want.
It's going to probably, to get the exact same kit, which is pretty much what they did with the Baneblade, it was pretty much the exact same kit, but in plastic.
Yeah.
Would you really spend $550 on a Thunderhawk? Granted, flyers tend to be used more in Apocalypse matches than walkers because of terrain conveniency.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's coming from someone who's planning on buying a Phantom Titan.
Yeah.
And it's only $50 cheaper than the Thunderhawk.
I hate to say it, but a $500 or more model is a really big investment, and not a lot of people would make it. I wouldn't do it for anything.
I
except
feel
for,
like...
Yeah, no, not anything I can think of.
Dude, you're not crazy like me.
Maybe for, like, a actual full screen replica of one of the Enterprises, like from the movies or the Next Generation, like proper scaling, like actually made from the original molds. Maybe I'd spend $500 on that. But yeah, no, that's like it.
It's again, it's one of those things where it's one of those purchases where if Games Workshop threw it out tomorrow, people would most likely buy it.
Yeah.
But if Games Workshop did something like this, this month they preview it, and then next month they confirm it, throughout that whole month, they're risking the entire fan base sitting there going, you know what, I don't really play Apocalypse matches.
Yeah.
And really, I don't really have enough to do an Apocalypse game. It would just be my army in this thing.
And
you know what? It's probably not going to be worth it, because when am I ever going to use it? That's the risk with something like... The only way, if Games Workshop were to do a Plastic Thunderhawk, they would not hint, they would not drop any tidbits about it, they would just do it. That way, they get you in the hype, in the heat of the moment, to make that quick purchase.
Honestly, they are going to make something big when they put out Apocalypse 2.0.
Oh, yeah,
but
obviously.
Hopefully it's something interesting. I mean, right now, the only big super heavies that they make are the Baneblade, the Shadow Sword, so another Baneblade, and the Orc Stompa. So maybe they could throw another cool plastic kit somebody out there.
What I was thinking...
And that scale
is
3-point super heavy,
is a, either one of the Tyranid models or one of the Eldar tanks.
Yeah.
They need more Xenos, to be perfectly honest.
I agree. They need some Xeno love.
Granted, understandable, Space Marines and humans, they're the main characters of the story. So it's understandable that they get the most models.
Mm-hmm.
But in Apocalypse, I would buy in a heartbeat a super heavy Eldar weapon, like a super heavy tank, because I doubt the only... And plus also, like, with Eldar, they would be the easiest ones to replicate. The Eldar Reverend Titan is not that many pieces. And I think it's about the same size, if not smaller than a Stompa.
Yeah, I don't think they're ever going to really recreate Titans in plastic. Not because they can't, but because that's kind of the whole... Well, not the whole reason, but it was one of the reasons they started Forge Worlds, for doing those really ridiculous things.
Well,
so it's like the semi-ridiculous things, like the big tanks could come out of 40...
the thing is, again, it also depends. Like, Forge World still makes their Shadow Sword because their Shadow Sword is slightly different. Yeah. They could do, like, let's just say, just for argument's sake, again, the Reverend Titan. They could do a Reverend Titan with a different weapon set up. So that way, okay, for the US people, we got the Reverend Titan with this weapon on it, but if we want the Pulsar version or the Sonic Lance on their Sonic Wave Gun, we have to go to Forge World for it.
Right.
And sadly, that could also help promote, because, like, here's a good example, is the Stormblade. I want a Stormblade from Forge World just so I have a different tank and not the same one I could buy over and over again from Games Workshop. Mm-hmm. That would be a cool way of doing it, is taking an existing model and varying it just slightly. So it's like, cool, I could either buy a 7th version of the GW one, but $50 more isn't too bad. Maybe I'll just buy the Forge World version.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do hope they give us a non-Imperial Apocalypse model, just because I would like to see more. I would like them to promote other races to go Apocalypse, not just Imperial Guard and Space Marine.
Yeah. The whole point of Apocalypse is you're supposed to take your entire collection and just throw it on a table all together. So just giving a little bit more variety would be nice.
Yes. One thing that I do hope that they do, because if I read the Forge World site correctly, they expect you now to use the 6th edition vehicle damage chart for your super heavies.
Yeah, they made a conversion for that. The quick and dirty version is the structure points are now 3 hull points.
Well, no, they not just that is they changed. Oh, if you get explosion, then just reduce the structure point. I was like, but what if you get a wreck? What happens then?
Yeah, well, Apocalypse 2.0 should clarify a lot of it.
Yeah, like they kind of skipped over. They gave you a scenario for if you rolled 6 on the die roll, but not a 5.
Yeah.
But so I hope they clarify that. I do hope that they keep with. Well, again, I was probably the only person who understood why this change happened. But I'm glad that they changed it back, but I hope they keep the Eldar Hollow Fields the way they are.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, when 6th edition came out, Forge World redid their rules. They did FAQ for all their items, and it said, and they stated, Eldar Hollow Fields grant Shroud. They grant Stealth to the vehicle, and if they move, they gain Shroud. And everyone was like, oh, what's this now? They have no protection, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, if you really understand, the way a holofield works is it's not an actual force field. It's a distortion of the image. And those apocalypse-like weapon-type things are supposed to be mass explosions. You can't trick an explosion into not hitting it. It either hits it or it doesn't.
Yeah.
So I understood why they did that, because, you know, an explosion's going to hit something whether or not it's defragmented or not. But then Forge World took into account everyone's response going, well, you know, basically all the Eldar super tanks lost everything that they had going for them because they lose their power fields, in a sense, because they were the only race aside from Nids that didn't have, like, a power field protecting it. So they then went back and said, okay, it's a 5-up save if they move in the turn, and they have Shroud, or Stealth, I forget which one. And they didn't answer what happens with enhanced hollow fields. And then they said enhanced hollow fields, it's a 4-up if they move. And so that was interesting. I just hope they keep that kind of stuff there because, like I said, for anyone who's not aware, I'll do another video on this later, but I do plan on saving up for the Phantom Titan.
Yeah.
The Stark Lord and the Clown talked me into it.
Well, you gave us the choice between that or the Thunderhawk, and I really don't like the Thunderhawk model, especially after seeing them in person. It's big, it's clunky, it's ugly, and you should get more Eldar stuff.
And then, after I decided on not going with the Thunderhawk, I did said, now, should I go with the Phantom or 2 Reverend Titans? And you still all said the Phantom Titan.
Did I? Honestly, either way is cool. More Titans, more power.
I know the Clown said get the Phantom Titan because that thing's ballin', and it is.
Say that.
And the Reverend Titans are cool. It's one of those things. If I go with the Phantom Titan, it's one huge thing that everyone's shooting at. But if I get 2 Reverend Titans, it's 2 tinier things that can blitz, and then you have to pick and choose which one you have to fire at.
Yep, and they're pretty cool, not gonna lie. I like the Revenants. I like that level of size of units. Like, anything over 12 inches gets a little crazy sometimes.
And that's ridiculous because the Phantom's like 18 inches tall. It's crazy.
Yeah, let's see how tall this dude is.
They don't tell you on the website.
Huh,
but
so they
show
don't.
They put it next to a Reaver Titan.
And it's taller than the Reaver by good amount.
Now here's the thing. The Reaver Titan is 16 inches tall.
Yeah.
Okay? So let's give him an inch
because he's not on that base.
On that base. Let's give the base an inch. He's roughly... Now I'm going off of a missile launcher, not his shoulder pads.
Yeah.
His missile launcher, there's a good... I want to say 3-4 inches.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to say that he is about 20 inches tall without a stand.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's counting his fins, not counting his head. If you took his head into factor, he's only like a good 19 inches. Like he's only 2 inches taller than the
still pretty
Reaver
tall.
Titan. It's still ridiculously tall, and it's massive amounts of resin.
Yeah.
But surprisingly, from what I've seen, it's not that many parts.
Yeah, unlike the Warhound's so many parts because it's got a couple of inside compartments you can check out.
And it's got all those pistons. Oh, the pistons.
Oh, the pistons, yes.
There was like 15 in a foot.
Yeah, this is a lot more streamlined.
Well, if I understand correctly, the fins are all separate pieces. The shoulder pads are separate. The head is 2 pieces. The chest, I want to say, is 2 pieces. His feet are 3 pieces.
Mm-hmm.
His legs, I think, are broken up into lower, knee, and high up, and plates.
Mm-hmm.
It's mostly like plating on him.
Yeah.
Like, the bulk of his body, from what I've seen in videos, is pretty much all one piece.
Yeah.
What I do like that they did with this model is they were considerate with the weaponry and made them switchable.
Yeah.
So like we say in the one picture, the pulsar lance, the Phantom Pulsar lance is on his right arm and the D cannon's on his left arm. But they designed both sides of the thing to look exactly the same, so you could put them on either arm and it wouldn't look awkward. Like with the plasma gun on the Warhound Titan, if it's only made to be on its right side. You can put it on the left side, but you can tell that it wasn't meant to be that way because all the armor plating is facing inward.
Yeah. By the way, they do have a picture of it next to a Revenant Titan. To get an idea of how much taller it is, and it's ridiculously taller.
Where's the Revenant Titan picture? I see the Reaver Titan.
Go up and to the left one.
Oh, yes, there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Reverend Titan, I think, is 10 inches tall.
Let me check. I think they actually gave us a height on that. It's...
Yes, they do.
12 inches, 300 millimeters.
Okay, and he's just slightly halfway up him.
Yeah.
So that's going off his shoulder pads. His fin goes up to his chest cavity. And that's where they're measuring from the top of the fin.
Yeah.
So the second plate in his chest is the 12-inch mark.
Sounds about right.
Roughly, because, he is bending.
Either way, he's a tall model.
Yes, and I will have no place to put him once he's built.
Put him next to your Gundams.
There's no space. There's that shelf right there.
Issues.
Which... speaking of, we saw a movie recently, didn't we?
We did.
We saw G.I. Joe Retaliation.
Yep, in 3D.
Which is surprisingly, apparently, from what I heard, the reason it took a year to come out after.
I will say that was a wasted reason. The 3D didn't add that much, but it was actually decent.
It did actually do a decent depth of field effect.
Yeah, it did. It did.
Yeah, like, a lot of those True D things don't really do the depth of field look that well. I thought this one was pretty good with that.
My favorite depth of view that I've ever seen was when they remastered Nightmare Before Christmas.
I never saw that one.
They did it like 2 years running. I think I hope to do it again sometime soon, considering it's like the 20th anniversary now or something. But it felt like it was on stage. Like, you sat down and just, it didn't pop forward, it popped back, and the scenery just set it up. It was like, it almost felt like watching like a play, which was really beautiful.
The weirdest of all the 3D experiences I had was seeing Beauty and the Beast in 3D.
Yeah, I'm not ready for that.
Well, what it was is the one scene I was looking forward to, I was fairly disappointed in, which was the ballroom dance scene.
Oh, the heavily CG'd scene, the one that's perfect for that.
But there's the thing is the scene was already shot in 3D when it was done. So when you apply the 3D filter, it doesn't do anything to the shot.
That's funny.
But everything else, it literally looked like you could tell where the clear cell ended, what was on the clear cell and what was on the matte background. It was weird.
That's cool, in a weird way.
Like, the backgrounds looked completely fake. Like, to the point where it looked like it literally looked like they just took clear film that had the characters on it and just slapped it over the background. It just looked very weird.
Well, that's
and
what
it was
they
very hard to
pretty
get
much
used to.
do.
Oh. I understand that. I know how film works, but it's just weird seeing that effect.
Well, I will say this: this coming Friday, I'm seeing Jurassic Park in 3D because
Jurassic Park.
I love that movie, and it's totally worth seeing in 3D.
Movie. It's a good movie. Sadly though, I will most likely be missing that one.
That's okay.
One thing, I have been watching this really weird anime lately called High School of the Dead.
Oh no.
It's a zombie. It's basically World War Z before World War Z. It's a story about these high school kids who are at school one day, and then all of a sudden the dead people just start coming and attacking, and they have to band together and try and fight off the infection, try and find a safe place to get out away from the infected. And of course, there's a kendo master who is head of the kendo club. The lead female is head of the spear martial arts club.
Okay.
So she could fight with so she has like a broken mop pole, and she fights with it like it's a spear.
Okay.
And it is a adult cartoon, so there is a lot of fan service. And the whole and it's very basically like a story. One of the things is the main character and the lead female used to go out, and when they were younger, she says, I'm going to marry you when we grow up, and things happen and they are no longer together. And it's interesting. I'll have to give it that. It is an interesting show. It's definitely worth a watch to give it a shot. But to be honest, the only thing that I'm a little sick of is all the uses of dead in the titles of the episodes.
Okay, like they try to fit it in every way they can.
Well, it's like, the dead of night. The dead of night, the dead dawn. Like...
Dead reckoning, whatever. I get you.
Yep.
Well,
like,
they want to play on the dead pun.
Yeah, I know, but it's just like, it gets to the point where you're just like, enough. Speaking of that, if any of you fearless gamers actually watch anime, since we have been talking about it a little bit today, what's your favorite anime, if you have any at all? And if any of you are Dragon Ball Z fans, are any of you stoked for the new Dragon Ball Z movie?
No.
A funny thing, I hear that the beginning of the movie starts at a party.
Mm-hmm.
It's Bulma's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
It was originally supposed to be, they basically, the one place that is like the source for this doesn't really expand on, but they pretty much say that it was originally supposed to be Gohan and Vidal's wedding.
Oh.
And they cut it out. And there's an interesting thing about the character, Birusu and Whis. When they first gave Tori the story arc for it, they gave him the name of Birusu, which is spelled B-I-R-U-S. The story creators were going, oh, his name means virus. It's based off the German pronunciation of virus. Well, Tori, Akira Toriyama, saw that and went, oh, his pun is beer. Okay, well then I'll name his attendant Whis for whiskey. So everyone on the internet's going, oh, his name is beer and his name is whiskey. And the production group is going, no, it's not an alcoholic pun, I swear. And it got to the point where I think they basically outright said, this is what his pun is. And then they talked to Tori about it, and Tori's like, to be honest, I thought his name was beer. That's why I named the other guy Whis for whiskey. That's what I thought they were going for. And so now it's basically and one of Tori's assistants also commented, it's not virus, it's beer and whiskey. Beer starts with B. With it. They were really going at it. So now there's like a split group. there are those that go with the guys that wrote the story line and the script, who say they're both named after Virus. Uis being named after the Japanese word of virus. Then there's the Tory group that says, no, their name is Beer and Whiskey. Me and Elena, we're pretty much going on the Beer and Whiskey one because I think that's funnier and makes a little bit... Virus just makes no sense, especially since the character's abilities have nothing to do with viruses.
Okay.
And so I just think Beer and Whiskey just is cool. It's just a cuter thing.
I will say one thing, I learned way more about this movie than I wanted to just now, so thanks.
Well, you will learn more.
Yeah.
When this podcast is over.
Oh god, no.
And then, only then, will you have my permission to die.
I didn't realize I needed your permission to die.
You do.
Are you trying to do the con thing? Because it's not really working.
No, it's going more for Bane.
Oh, the Bane thing. Well, the thing is, you need to do, like, the Sean Connery voice to get that going right.
Once Gotham is ruined in ashes, then you have my permission to die.
That was horrible.
You know, I've never actually seen the final film.
Really? It's,
I've been hearing that there's a bunch of plot holes and things that are changing. I'm like,
there's a couple of annoying plot holes. It's not bad, but it's kind of slow, because the first one's great and pretty epic because it's epic. The second one's great because it's epic. Like, the first two are very epic, but they're not trying to be. The third one, they were, like, trying to be epic, and it just gets to be like, is it over yet at some point? And then it ends pretty well, but there is some things that could have developed better. There's plot issues, whatever.
There's one twist that I don't want to give away for anyone who hasn't watched it, but I know the twist, that I was disappointed in how the twist went.
How can I ask which twist it is?
Here, I'll type it to you.
Yes, type it to
right
me.
now.
I think I know which one it is, but I don't want to assume. Type. You type like a Muppet, by the way. He's right now just smashing the keyboard. This is going to come out like ASDQ749. Yeah. I don't know.
I think that would have been a better... Okay.
I actually thought that's the way they were going with that.
Yeah. Well, see, a lot of people... I get why they went the way they did, because a lot of people wouldn't have got it, but I think that one would have made more sense.
Yeah, no, that was just a random kind of, hey, look at this kind of thing they said. I could care less about that twist. It was so minor.
Yeah, I'm just saying, this is like those things. But, to be honest, right now, with movie-wise, I've said this like hundreds of times before, but I don't know about you, but I am so looking forward to Pacific Rim.
Yeah, it's Guillermo del Toro, who I love, and
it's Godzilla's versus Gundams with a little bit of Portal in there.
Yes, because they have the voice actress of Gladys doing
doing the Gladys voice.
Yeah,
with the Gladys filter. It is amazing.
But Guillermo did on purpose because he is the biggest of nerds.
He's the biggest movie nerd. I would say he rivals Kevin Smith and Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, I could go with that.
I mean,
yeah,
I think he rivals those two because those two are really big into it as well. But I mean, come on, my mom, when I showed her the trailer for Pacific Rim, when she saw the monster eating the bridge, she was convinced it was a Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
Because that looked so much like something Godzilla would fight. And speaking of, did you know apparently the U.S. is gonna take another stab at the Godzilla franchise?
Unfortunately, I did notice that.
And they're promising that it won't be another Matthew Broderick debacle.
That'd be nice. I got nothing. That's just... I don't blame Broderick, I don't blame anyone, but...
Oh, that movie was horrible.
don't want to talk about that movie. Let's just leave it at that.
What's hilarious is in the last Godzilla movie, Godzilla fights that Godzilla, and he drops him in 2 hits.
Well, yeah. Godzilla versus stupid radioactive reptile with giant...
Well, they call him Zilla in Japan. Yeah. Because apparently there was like a toy manufacturing company that was bootlegging Godzilla toys in the US at the time, and to get around it they were calling it Zilla figures. So they're like, okay, the Zilla figures are a rip-off of Godzilla. This American version is a rip-off of our Godzilla, so his name is Zilla.
Yeah, whatever.
And in Final Bout, they used the worst CG they could get to make this monster, just to add insult to injury.
The thing is, like, the American version just did not understand the whole concept and point of Godzilla, and it just... Yeah, we weren't ready for a giant monster movie.
What was hilarious was after that movie came out is when I saw the Matthew Broderick SNL promo for it.
Never seen it.
And like, he's on SNL, and one of the guys comes out and is going dun 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 dun, and he's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm doing the Godzilla theme. I mean, come on, man. You know, that's going to be in the film, right? You know, it's going to have Godzilla coming in and going dun dun dun. This other guy comes out going hip hip. It's like, what? It's like, well, you're gonna have the classic, you know, Japanese guy, you know, directing people through the crowd going this way, as Godzilla's coming and everything. And then Matthew Broderick makes the most hilarious comment, which is, well, actually, guys, the Godzilla that features in our film is going to be the scariest looking Godzilla that's ever been seen on screen.
Okay.
And I'm like, in what universe?
Yeah, it wasn't terribly horrifying. As a side note, the original writer for the story for the next Godzilla movie is David S. Goyer.
Okay.
Who was part of the writing team for the last 3 Batman movies, Blade 2, some other stuff, some really bad stuff, some really good stuff.
Okay. Surprisingly, I prefer Blade 2 over Blade 1.
Blade 2 is awesome.
I thought that Blade 2 had the most sympathetic villain in a comic book movie so far.
Blade 1 had a great villain. I love Bishop. Bishop is fantastic. Blade 1 and Blade 2 are both great movies. Blade 3 didn't happen.
I want to see the cartoon version of Blade to see how they did Bishop in that one.
Yeah. Or what's his name? Is it Bishop Frost? Is that his name? Did I say it wrong?
His name is Frost.
I
don't know his first name.
Let me check. I just called him Bishop. I don't want to be stupid and call him the wrong name.
Yeah, but Frost was an interesting villain, to say the least. I just hated how they beat him.
How what?
I just hated how they beat him. I thought it was the dumbest thing.
Oh, whatever. It was a fun movie. But Blade 2 is ridiculously awesome. Well, whoops, I'm dropping things on my computer. Hopefully you didn't hear that.
I did not.
Good. Deacon Frost. That was close. Bishop, Deacon, whatever.
They were close. They're both church levels in the church.
Yep.
Ranks.
Totally.
Sorry.
But yeah, no, Blade was good stuff, and Blade 2 was good stuff, but whatever, that's neither here nor there. Godzilla probably should never be done by Americans.
It should be done by people who are fans of the original show and understand where Godzilla is coming from.
You know, that can help, but that still doesn't mean it's going to be good.
Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be good, but it's going to be a whole lot better than what we got last time we tried this.
You say that, but let's talk about this one movie that was made not too long ago with one of its biggest fans that happened to be a writer, director, and producer doing everything to make it as best as he could, and he gave us The Last Airbender, probably the worst movie I've ever made.
Avatar. The Last Airbender.
That was
featuring Ung. And Kitara.
No, they got her name right, I think. They got everyone else's name.
One person, I think, pronounces her name Kitara.
Probably. And
then there was
I highly recommend watching with a Vuvuzela, because it makes it better. But it only has one scene in the whole movie that is actually decent, because there's no spoken lines, no special effects, and they don't move the bloody camera. That's the only reason it's good. It's Kitara and Aang doing some, like, you know, meditative kung fu. and there's some snow coming down, and some ash, and I'm like, hey, they did that scene really well. But that movie's probably the worst directed, shot, cinematography, like, everything's bad about that movie.
All I have to say is, they kept airbenders in a rock quarry.
No, they kept earthbenders in a rock.
Earthbenders, that's what I meant. They kept earthbenders in a rock quarry,
It was
and needed a waterbender to remind them that there was earth around them.
It's like, hey, guys, you know that element you bend, earth? You're standing on it. Maybe you should use it. In the show, they were kept on a metal, like, oil rig in the middle of the ocean where they're at least a mile in every direction away from Earth, so they couldn't do it. Made sense.
They were imprisoned by George Takei.
Yes, they were.
And it was and then they had the nerve to make the firebenders only able to bend fire.
Yeah, they couldn't create it. It's the biggest problem.
But that's what Sozin's Comet did.
Yeah, that's what Mr. Awesome Iroh could do with it. He was the only one that created.
He was the only one who could use his breath to make.
But the big problem they have with that movie is, frankly, you watch the show, and I highly recommend watching Avatar. Anyone who hasn't, The Last Airbender. It's one of the best American cartoons in a long time. But they made it work because elemental bending. It was like kung fu with kung fu that shoots water, or fire, or whatever out. It made sense in the show because it was simple, quick movements that created some kind of elemental action. It was quick, it was fluid, it was efficient, it made sense as a combat system. In the movie, they're doing like a half dance to eventually get something to happen where it would just be faster and easier to kick the guy in the shins. Therefore, their martial arts system made no sense.
Or shoot them with arrows. There was a lot of people just holding arrows waiting for the dude to finish his bending move.
Yeah, like, it was like, you did bending wrong. Because, like, at one point, like, Aang's, like, practically dancing. Like, 15,000 things to make one burst of air. And I'm like, no, because in that 3 seconds, he would be dead 3 times over. Because there's dudes with swords, spears, and arrows around him. It should just... It was just, And then the firebenders couldn't make fire. So they had to shoot fire and, like, torches over walls and stuff, and the way they did it just wasn't efficient. And it was like, they can't be an effective army this way. This is just dumb.
And the worst, I think the best is if you watch in some of the scenes when he's with the Blue Spirit, you can see that half the people fighting aren't actually hitting each other.
Yeah.
Like, there's a scene where, the Spirit, in slow motion, he swings his sword, and it literally goes under the guy's arm, and the guy flies back as if he just got stabbed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're aware you did get hit, right, good sir?
The choreography was just a little lame in that movie. But
and then some of the camera angle choices, like randomly not showing Ozai's face and then showing it in the very next scene, making it completely pointless.
What they did is the first time they show Ozai, they show him straight in front, right away, full frontal, and make him out to be a normal guy. Then halfway through the movie, they just show his hand, like Dr. Claw style from Inspector Gadget, with the annoying focus filter, because, like, he's talking to someone that's, like, 30 feet below him. So, like, it's focused on, like, that guy and his hand, and
the ring
not focused properly, or then it switches the other way. And it's a really bad camera choice, because, again, first off, like you said, we were already introduced to Ozai. We know what he looks like. This evil, sinister thing makes no sense. And it was difficult to watch just because it was annoying the focus-unfocusing at that point.
Well, what was hilarious was in that same shot, you see the hand and the ring. And then the very next shot is behind the dude kneeling at him, so you see Fire Lord Ozai from the front.
Yeah, it was.
And they don't even take the attempt to blacken his face out to go with the scene that they were just trying to do. And it's like, so what was the point?
Yeah, basically, like I said, it's one of the worst shot movies I've ever seen. Like, cinematography, and it was just bad because there's like clearly 5 different people were doing the cinematography, and none of them talked to each other. Yeah. And they cut out 90% of the story because they tried to do,
And they explained it to you. They didn't show it.
It was the most horrible example of exposition lady.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and I loved how many times we had to hear that Aang didn't bow.
Yeah.
Like, every time a new character said, what happened, he always went, I didn't bow. And it's like, we already know this!
Whatevs, dude. My favorite, I think, piece of exposition was like, we got to the Northern Water Tribe, and Sokka, because I can't say Sokka's name right, meets with the Princess Yue, and they become fast friends, and maybe more. And it's like, really? You couldn't just give us any... Just told us there was a relationship. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
That-
It was glorious.
It was just probably some of the worst writing I've and everything ever. And the problem is,
it's one of those films that you show someone when you're tired of watching the Star Wars Christmas special.
yeah, I forced people to watch that, and they're not happy.
I love watching people's reactions to that because my favorite part is the
Whipster.
is the cooking show.
Whipster. That's most people's breaking point. Like, they can make it through the first 20 minutes of just straight Wookiees with no subtitles, usually, and be like, okay, I'll try to watch this. But by the time it gets to that, it's over.
Glorious. Okay. I think that's enough for today. We've entertained or bored you guys for long enough, I'd say. Do you have any questions for the Fearless that we haven't asked them yet today?
No, I don't think so. I think the normal question is just, tell us what you're painting, if you're painting anything. Tell us what you're working on. Tell us what you like or dislike in the new codices that are coming out.
What's your favorite? I think the biggest one for this one is what current anime, if you watch anime, are you watching? And if you aren't watching anyone, do you have any recommendations for those who watch anime on the channel?
Tell us what you're watching. And in fact, let's just be more general.
In fact, even if it wasn't anime, tell us what TV show you're watching right now.
Yeah.
Be it anime, live action, Japanese, German, Italian, anything. Let us know so we can look at it and see what we think about it.
Yeah. Okay.
So that is all for right now. Thank you all for joining us, and until next time, Fearless Gamers, this is Matt the Vet.
Oh, sorry, I just cut off your name. I feel bad now. And this starts.
No, you don't.
I feel a little bad.
You didn't cut me off.
Oh, I thought I did. Whatever.
So, one more time, this is Matt the Vet.
And this is the Stark Lord.
Take care.
Bye-bye now.